Hello, everyone. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, everyone, and welcome to my live. This is Denise the Dennis D9, aka Denny in Virginia, aka the Doors professional voice actor. And this is part two of my one-on-one conversation. So before I was interrupted by the bird has now left the building, and so now we can actually have a conversation with you hearing me and not just the bird. So anyway, let's just dive right into this. This conversation is called Faith and Fandom, because this is one of my own personal struggles that I had to overcome and struggled with for many, many years, and was only able to overcome it like fully when I fully converted over seeking Jesus myself into forming a relationship with him for myself. And so that is I am a self-proclaimed ex-weeb and ex-Koreaboo. So for those of you guys who don't know, a weeb is someone who's like whose whole life revolves around anime, and they watch so much anime, they read the manga, they listen to all the anime openings and closings and stuff like that, and they just go to conventions, and the whole life is just anime, 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 anime. And then a Koreaboo is someone who just loves K-pop. They get all the photo cards, all the music, watch all the stuff, stay up to date on all the news, watch dramas and stuff like that. And so they're just like two very, very, very intense fandoms that I was part of that started. The weebism really started in high school and actually kind of fizzled out a little bit. Not completely, but started fizzling out in college. But in college, what started fizzling in was the Koreabooism in me. And so I am a self-proclaimed ex-weeb and ex-Koreaboo, just because it's like I used to be in the thick of it in both fandoms, and now I am free. I am now free to be me. And that's kind of the conversation that I want to have today. And I want your opinion on how we should start having open conversation when it comes to having faith and being part of a fandom. So, the trouble that you get into when it comes to being so deep into it, being like on the deep end of the fandom, is that it crosses that line of idolization, which is not good when you are a person of faith. We all know, at least we all should know, that idolization, idolatry, all that stuff, really, 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 really bad. Really, really bad. And so the problem was, I was a person of faith. I was a person who was a Christian by name, but not by trade in the past. And so I was someone who grew up in the church, as in my parents always took me to church. We went to church on Sundays. When I was a little kid, went to Sunday school, not so much when I got older, but it's like I was a Christian by name, but not by trade. And so I never read the Bible myself, maybe like a couple of Psalms every day. You know, a Psalm a day keeps the doctor away. Um, and or like I would read a verse a day on the Bible app or something like that, but I would never like really get into the word in the past. And so I was like, yeah, I was a Christian. Yeah, I believed in Jesus. Yeah, I believed in God. I was a believer in name. In theory, I was a believer, but I wasn't seeking Jesus for myself. And so I was spending so much more time when it came to like watching anime, when it came to like being in the thick of watching shows, binging like crazy, watching everything on television, because I'm a 90s baby. So I got to see stuff on television, and I got to transition into the digital era. And so when I caught up on TV, I was of that age where like computers started coming out. And so then I transitioned to finding everything online to watch, to satisfy my need to constantly consume this stuff. And then when I switched over kind of from that being a weave to being a Koreaboo, I was just consuming everything with it when it came to the music videos, the music, the dramas, the variety shows, the shorts, the shows of all shapes and sizes. I was just like in the thick of it. And like I said, the problem that arises is that I was for sure idolizing both anime and Japan and everything manga, all the stuff that comes, anime intros, all the stuff that comes with that stuff. I was definitely idolizing it. I was idolizing literal, they're called K-pop idols. So that one was like a duh, a definite like red flag. And so guys, I'm not dissing, I'm not saying, I'm not coming after your idols, I'm not coming after your anime. I'm just saying I'm telling my story. So before you start attacking me in the comments, I need you to calm down, sit down somewhere. I'm telling you my story. And so yeah, they're literally called K-pop idols. And so that is exactly what I was doing. I was in the thick of idolatry, of like these just other fellow human beings, fellow just nice, normal human beings. And I was like putting them on this pedestal when it's like they're just normal human beings. They're just making music. It was the strangest thing because it's like I never really like when it came to like the American music that I'd listened to, yeah, there'd be like a lot of songs that I liked, but I never really like idolized any of them, right? Like I like Michael Jackson. I would like his music, but I never really idolized Michael Jackson. Like I can't live my life without listening to Michael Jackson music. There was no like American artist. Like I liked Fall Out Boy. I liked honestly, there's just not too many, like, I liked NSYNC and stuff like that, but there weren't too many, like, American artists that I would, like, be like, "I can't live today without listening to some bit of their music," or, like, "I can't, go through the day without listening to this genre of music." Like, there was nothing that I was that attached to when it came to my American music than when I was in the thick of anime. I had to listen to so many anime openings and closings and stuff like that. When I was into K-pop, I had to have my K-pop list of my favorite idols and stuff like that. And so it was like the problem not doesn't lie in the music. Well, I mean, some of the music. That's just like it's a whole nother conversation. That's not just K-pop. That's not just anime. That's just like the secular music scene in general. The main problem was how much of my literal life energy I was pouring into these things. Literally, my one and only non-renewable resource that was my time, my literal life energy that I was pouring into these resources that really didn't give a crap about me. Um, the creator of your favorite anime really doesn't care about you, right? They don't know you like that. And so it's one thing if you were using it as like a potential career point, like maybe you were a manga artist. That would make sense for you to be in the thick of it. Because that's your career, that's your work. Maybe you are not an idol. We're not idols. There are no idols, guys. There are no idols. Idolatry is a bad thing. Anything that has the word idol in it is a big no-no when it comes to faith. Please, I will harp on that. Anything that says idol is a big no-no. And so maybe you're a musician, and so you just wanted to be a musician. That is a-okay because you're using that as a career path. And it's like you can enjoy these things like as a hobby. You can enjoy these things lightly, but it's like when you dedicate like so much of your time, literal years. If you put it all together, literal years of your life, Thanos snaps because you were pouring it all into this one thing that's never going to give it back to you. It just doesn't make any sense. And so that's the conversation that I want to start having with people that I would like to start having at conventions and stuff. Cause it's like, it's not like I'm not like fighting the anime industry. I'm not fighting the K-pop industry. I just like myself from stepping back and looking at myself in the past, I realized how much of my life that I had dedicated to these things that really didn't care about me. I would dedicate both my most valuable non-renewable resource, which is my time, my life energy, as well as my monetary means, like things I could have been paying off debt this whole time, but I would spend money like going on vacation. I would spend money buying CDs. I would spend money going to concerts and stuff like that. When it's like that same money could have been used to pay off my student loans. That same money could have been used to pay off a vehicle. Like it's like that same money could have been put into savings, could have been put into some type of interest, something gathering something or another and building up over time. But instead I wasted it on something that's really not going to give me that return. It's one thing if you have it like that. And so you're not really making any monetary sacrifices to go to your favorite concerts or anything like that or support your favorite artist. That's one thing. But when you're sacrificing like your freedom to go to a concert, that's a problem. When you're sacrificing your freedoms um and your quality of life to support someone who like doesn't really need your support to make or break their career, that's a problem. And so that's the conversation that I want to start having with people is like how much just doing a personal audit of your time, a personal audit of your finances. Are you idolizing these things? And it's not just um, anime, it's not just K-pop. There are so many other things that this can apply to, but those are the worlds that I was part of. And so that's why I can speak on it because I was there. Um, and it's not like I'm not like so anti-anime, I'm not super anti-K-pop because at the end of the day, like it's just some of it is just music, some of it is just a show. So some of it is still fine. It's just like overarching. I'm not even getting into the thick of like sometimes the the themes, the suggestive themes that it gets you to believe in that go against your morals and you don't even really know it because you're not founded in Christ solid enough to know that it's pitting you against him. That's a whole nother conversation that's I have to develop a whole thesis on that. Um, but anyway, I digress. It's just like auditing your time to see like how much of my literal life energy am I putting into this one thing? Why am I binging this show that has gone on for so many seasons? If I put all that time together, was it worth it? Like, over time, there's no problem watching a show, keeping up with a show, like, over time, that doesn't like, that's cool, but it's like, the problem with, being a weeb is that you felt like you had to watch everything. You felt like you had to stay on top of everything. The second something came out, you had to watch everything, you had to be in the know for everything, stay on top of every show, and it's like, you could just pick maybe just one show to stay on top of, instead of going into the thick of it and diving into it and not wasting, but kind of wasting a lot of time if you have no intentions of building a career off of it, making content off of it, becoming a manga artist or becoming an animator in that industry. Then it's like, what really is the point? Sorry, I'm fighting a cold, so you might get some sniffles and some sneezes, but it's like, if I understand the camaraderie of it, because there are a lot of people who are in the fandom, and so it does feel good to belong to a group. It feels good to be able to relate to these people, but it's like, all the time that you spent relating to these people because of this one show, you could have also just tried to like find people who are more in tune with like who you are as a person. And so the main problem with being a weeb and being a Koreaboo with me was that I didn't know who I was. It became me. It became my whole life. It became my everything. All of my time, all of my everything was dedicated to that. I was in college and I wasn't studying. I wasn't practicing anything. I was getting the worst grades I've ever gotten in my life in college because all of my time was being put into obsessing over this stuff that really didn't matter. And so when it comes to crossing that barrier into idolatry, crossing that barrier into this is my entire personality, that's when the problem lies. So how do we start having these conversations of like, hey, like, I like cosplay, I like to dress up, or I like certain shows, but I also don't want to be a slave to that. I don't want to give all of my money, pour all of my money into that. I don't want to make sacrifices to be able to go to a convention. I don't want to make sacrifices to be able to go on vacation just to see this one thing. I don't want to have to stress myself out trying to find a way to make ends meet so that I can go to this one concert or support this one thing or like go to this launch party or something like that, you know? It's just something to think about. What are you giving your time to? Are you in the thick of it? Are you too deep in it? Can you just take a step back and really audit, like, why am I spending all of my time on this? And is there anything that I can be spending my time on that will give me much more peace? Um, and I digress because the main thing, I called this faith and fandom, but I didn't even really get into the faith part of it because that'll also take a very long time. But it's like the reason why it's called faith and fandom is because there are a lot of people out there who are both believers, but they're into anime, they're into K-pop, and they don't fully recognize how much of a pedestal they have placed those things on. And so the reason why I'm talking about it is because I was there, y'all. I was there. I was one of those people who was like, I love anime all day, every day. I love K-pop all day, every day. I'm going to consume everything about it. When it's like, when was the last time you got into your Bible? When was the last time you talked to him? How much time are you spending with God versus how much time are you watching this show? And that's why I'm saying this can apply to a broader spectrum than just anime and K-pop, because there are a lot of people who are obsessed, who idolize Netflix, who idolize movies, who idolize comics, who idolize so many different other things, different shows. So it goes beyond that, but this is based upon my experience, which was I did idolize anime, I did idolize K-pop. They're literally called K-pop idols, and I only know now that that's a big no-no, big no-no, because I finally started reading the word myself. Finally, after so many years of life, finally started reading the word for myself. And that's how I found out that literally, I was literally worshiping normal people as idols, which is like, no, that's crazy. That's crazy, man. I was like, God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And so just want to start having these conversations at like conventions and stuff, where I would love to have a panel talking about faith and fandom, and like, what is it that you are agreeing to give your life over to? If you had to live the rest of your life without anime whatsoever, um, are you cool with that? If you had to live your life without K-pop whatsoever, it was ripped away from you forever, are you okay with that? And if the answer is no, I can't possibly live my life without it, then you've idolized it. And that is where the problem is. Because it's like, if you are a person, if you're a believer, if you're a person of faith, then you should be able to say, okay, sure, bet, take it away. I'll find something else. I'll read my word more. I'll praise and worship more. Like, there's so many other more things that I could be doing better for humanity, for myself, for other people, than idolizing this one thing. But if you're like, no, I couldn't imagine my life without this one thing, then you've placed that one thing on an altar, which is not cool, which is not good. And so, how do we have these conversations without attacking each other? How do we have these conversations without judging each other? Because I would love to have these conversations with people at actual conventions, because like I said, I still like to dress up. I still enjoy the concept of cosplay. I wouldn't be caught cosplaying certain characters. I wouldn't watch any certain shows anymore that go against my values. But I still like love to dress up, and there's nothing wrong with dressing up. But how do we bring the conversation to where people might be struggling with this the most? And how do we bring it up and have a nice conversation about it without attacking people, without judging people? Because I talk about it out of love, because I realized that I was in a bad place. That was probably some of the darkest times of my life. Some of the like, it's weird because it was most of the like stuff that I watched, I would say it's some of the darkest times of my life, just because it's like I was definitely running away and going into escapism when I was in that world. I was choosing not to deal with real life. That was the whole thing. That's why it was one of the darkest times of my life, is because I would much rather binge watch this show than have to deal with my life and how it's crumbling. I would much rather send K-pop memes to my friends than have to look at myself in the mirror and see that I don't like where I am in life. And so that was a very dark time for me. And I realized now that I was just trying to escape from the reality that was my life by diving into those things, because I can pretend like nothing was wrong with my life, because my life is all just about anime, or my life is all just about K-pop. And so that's just not good, and that's not a good way to live your life. And so if you're a person of faith, I would highly encourage you to just start auditing, like, how how much are you emphasizing these shows? How much are you emphasizing um the music or the dramas and stuff like that? And can you step back enough to free yourself from the chains of that idolatry? Can you admit can you admit that you have been locked up in idolatry when you are submitted to these things? Because for the longest time, I didn't even see it. I wouldn't have said that I was idolatrous or anything like that at all. But now, it's taking a step back and looking at it, it was so clear as day, clear as day. Like I said, they're literally called K-pop idols. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with music. Like, we all like music, but it's like, it's literally called idols. They're literally called idols. It's like, read the Bible for 2 seconds and you would know that's a big no-no. And so it's like, why don't you just call them musicians? That's what they are. Like, oh my gosh, it's just so much stuff. It's just so much stuff. Like I said, how do we bring up this conversation without judgment? How do we bring up this conversation without actually attacking people, and having people just kind of like do an internal audit and realize, hey, why am I spending so much time in this one department? Why am I spending all of this time in this, when I proclaim myself to be a person of faith? Even if you're not a person of faith, it's still good to take a step back and be like, what am I doing spending all of this time to this, when it's like I'm not even happy with where I am in life? This does not apply to everybody. This just applies to like my past experience. I was not happy with where I was in life, and instead of working on that, instead of working on where I was in life, I chose to escape to binge watching shows. I chose to escape to listening into all of the K-pop music I can get my hands on, and watching all the music videos and being there for all the midnight releases, all the drops and stuff like that, having my favorites and stuff like that. I went straight into idolatry so that I can escape my own situation, so I can escape my own life, so I can escape from having to deal with having to work on my own self, having to work on my own life to make my life better or to make the lives around me better. And so this is just like the first part of a conversation that I want to get started, like regularly talking to people of like, hey, are you really dedicating like too much time to this thing? I don't know. I don't know how to phrase it so that, like I said, we're not judging and we're not attacking people. I just want people to like realize for themselves, like maybe I'm spending too much time on this. Maybe I did idolize it. Maybe I did put it up on an altar and I didn't even realize it. And to just step back and be like, whoa, 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 whoa. That's too much. Why am I spending all this time and money? I'm never getting that time back from my life. And it's cool that I watched that music video when it dropped, but it's like I could have watched it the next day. I could have watched it the next year and it would have been okay. And so I would just like to encourage those of you who were or currently are part of that world of like in the thick of anime and Koreaboo and conventions and stuff like that. Like I said, that's where I was. I was there. I was right there with y'all. Just to take a step back and be like, hey, should I really be spending this much time, this much of my resources towards this right now? Or should I maybe focus more on my life and my getting my stuff together, or helping my family out, helping my friends out, helping society out a bit more, maybe spending more time volunteering, maybe spending more time creating something for myself instead of always consuming. So just take a step back and be like, hey, I'm spending way too much time on this one thing. That's a big no-no. That is crossing the line of idolatry. What can I do? What can I do to get my life back? What can I do to take the reins back? And so this is again, I watched DBZ, I watched Naruto, all that stuff, all the K-pop idols and stuff like that. I used to listen to. I was there. I was there. And I still be finding memes and they're so funny to me. I'm not gonna lie, they're still funny to me. But I'm no longer a slave to it, is the main thing. And so I just want you guys to realize like maybe you're being a slave to certain things in life, and like you can choose to break those chains if you so choose. You can just break them and be freed from it and no longer be a slave to anime, no longer be a slave to K-pop. And you can just be like, you know what, you can either completely break free like I did and kind of just cut the cord, and like it's kind of like minimal interaction now. It's just like if it pops up, it pops up, but I'm not seeking it out anymore. Or you can be like, let me drastically reduce the amount of time I'm spending on this. And let me filter more of what I want to actually input. Um, and monitor what I'm inputting and what am I giving my time to, because I'm never going to get that time back. And so is it even worth it? So cuz we've all watched a bunch of crap that like in the grand scheme of things, it didn't add to your life at all. It didn't add to your life like at all, or consume things or listen to things, and it's like I could scale all the way back. I can scale all the way back on that and still have a really good, really high quality level of life. Probably a much higher quality level of life. And so I just want to encourage you guys to just take a little audit of your life and how much time are you spending on certain things? Have you idolized them without even realizing it? And please, please, please just take a moment to free yourself, break free of the matrix and just scale back is all I'm really asking for you guys to do, is scale back and start just looking at your life from the outside and be like, is this really the life that I want? Is this really the life that is helping build me up? Is this really like my purpose? Am I walking in my purpose? Am I becoming a better person as a result of this? And if the answer is no, then just be like, maybe I should start working on something else. Maybe I should pick up a new hobby. Maybe go to crochet. Maybe learn an instrument. Maybe learn something, a new skill or something. Maybe spend more of my time on the things that I love that'll actually make me a better person as a result. And so that's all I have for this live. I hope it connects with somebody. And yeah, give me some ideas as to how we can have this conversation more often at like conventions and stuff like that, because I really do want a lot of people to be freed from the shackles of idolatry, from the shackles of obsessing over this one thing, because it's like life is so much more than that one thing. And so let me know if you have any ideas. Let me know in the comments, because yeah, this is something that is near and dear to my heart, and I would love to communicate with that community because that is where I was. And so I would love to help some of them just realize, hey, I can actually not scroll back, like roll back on the obsessiveness of it and actually start focusing on me, start focusing on how do I improve my life more so I can take that same amount of time that I had put into obsessing over this one thing and I can obsess over making my life better so that I can make other people's lives better. And so let me know, give me some ideas, guys. How can we talk about this in a nice, open environment in which everyone can feel comfortable talking about both faith and fandom? So let me know, and I hope you guys are having a fantastically glorious day. And until next time, all I have to say is goodbye.